All right. So, what are we looking at today?
Morning, Lee. I'm William.
Hello.
This morning we're going right to work on this Submariner.
Okay.
With a Kermit bezel. Nice watch. I already took it apart partially because the customer came and it was not running because it wouldn't wind. And the reason it wouldn't wind was because the mainspring was broken. So I wanted to show the customer what his problem was. And you can see the inner coil of the mainspring right here. Take a look at it there.
Oh, so it's considerably smaller than it should be.
Yeah, I threw away the long part because we're putting a new mainspring. But basically, when they break, they usually break here.
Okay.
And this is that stretch point in the metal, and it just didn't make it. Sometimes these Rolex mainsprings will last forever. We don't know if that's an aftermarket mainspring or if it was original. But I took the automatic module off. It's right here. I'll go ahead and put it away.
Okay.
Right there.
I'm guessing by the non-ceramic bezel that this is about 20-year-old, 25-year-old Submariner.
Yeah, it's after the 3035, so it's not a transitional. First thing you want to do here is loosen these movement holder screws, and you turn them down because when you tighten them, you back them up. So I'm loosening them. I'm just going to turn them down. And I'm using my gray.
The gray screwdriver.
Yeah, and I am going to tighten it, by the way, because I feel my blade slipping a little bit. So we'll just tighten this set screw right here.
So these little screwdrivers, you can kind of change the screwdriver on them when they get worn out?
The blade, yeah, we can change it. And one day we'll put a new blade on. So we don't need to let the watch down because it obviously doesn't have any power. So we'll just take the stem out.
Do you know how long it's been since? Did the customer say how long it's been since it was last serviced?
He doesn't remember. Yeah, but in my experience,
in watchmaking, that means a decade.
Yeah, it's a good 10. Yeah, good one.
And how often do Rolex say you should service their watches?
3 to 5 years, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
And would you agree with that yourself, or do you think they're trying to take more money off you?
No, I agree with it. If I can afford it, I'd service my watch every 3 years. Yeah. So we're just going to flip it over like this, gently, and we're going to get that dial off, which is nice and clean.
Nice and glossy as well.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah. Yeah. And I should have lined the hands up to remove them, but I'm going to very carefully use my levers and take the hands off. Yeah. Apologize, I didn't have my levers right in front of me. So as we've done before, we just come in, and the bottom side of my levers are polished, and we just lift all three, and then flip the.
And you're using that plastic sheeting to just protect the dial.
Yeah, and I don't pick the hands up with the tweezers. I
find they're incredibly fiddly.
Yeah, so we just carefully pick up the hands and put them in my parts container.
Okay.
And we don't want to scratch the hands either.
The loom still looks really good on it as well. There's no sort of yellowing or aging on it.
Yeah. So I'm going to come in with my yellow.
So you're now moving to the side. I'm assuming you taking the dial off?
Yep, I'm loosening the case screws.
From memory, is it 4 screws?
2.
Or 2.
Yeah, most modern watches have 2.
Okay.
And this dial.
And then they have these little sort of brass feet that help it sit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I will carefully bag the dial.
Yeah. That's one
Picked it up by one of the feet.
There we go.
Put it in there and set them aside.
And breathe sigh of relief.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you can see the date wheel going around there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very pretty movement.
It is, isn't it? They do, for a company that never have a sapphire case back, they do a lovely amount of machining and stuff on them that make them very appealing.
On the dial side, I'm going to remove you turn that little, it's like a wing screw, and then it allows you to pop off the date wheel. And the date wheel is held down by 2, 3 stainless jewels that are polished, and then another jewel, like a guide, and it pops off very easy. You don't want to bend it. And we're going to set it aside too. For a moment, I'm just going to set it on top of the bag for the dial, and we'll leave it alone.
Yeah.
Okay, so now, sometimes your order isn't that important.
When you're disassembling.
Yeah, but look, I'm going to remove these blued screws. And I don't have it in a movement holder yet, but it will go in the movement holder shortly. Okay, and this watch is going to go right to the cleaner, and then we're going to put it together today. After I'm done here, we're going to go ahead and first thing we're going to do is put a new mainspring in the barrel. But you want to be careful with these blued screws.
So you don't. So what do you do to make sure you don't scratch them?
Use the right screwdriver and just be careful.
So just slow and careful.
Mm-hmm. We're not in a hurry. Yeah. And most of the time, this dial side date ring retaining plate comes off fairly easy.
Okay.
And we just pry it up gently. Came up. Here we go. Set it aside. Here we go. Hour wheel. Set that aside. I usually turn my case upside down too to get as little dust as possible inside, so I'm not spending all day cleaning the... I'm sorry, that was the Wigwam date advance wheel.
Okay. Now,
it's an intermediate.
In the past, I've seen you doing a lot of pre-cleaning at this stage, but it looks to me...
fairly clean.
Yeah, that it's fairly clean.
Yeah. 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 So right now we're going to remove the cannon pinion, and I'm going to do it without lifting the watch, so I'll show you the cannon pinion when it comes up. So this is a cannon pinion remover.
Tool, okay.
And it pries it up, and it works really well. Standard watchmaker's tool. By the way, I'm going to remove this pinion here so we don't lose them. And that is an intermediate pinion from the hour wheel to the date advance wheel. And here we go. I'm just getting rid of this cannon pinion. And I dropped it there so you could see it. There's your cannon pinion.
Right.
Set it aside too. And now I'm going to leave this alone, and I'm going to flip the watch over.
Okay.
Yeah. So we put it on. Put it in a movement holder. Now,
the movement holders, I notice, are metal. Is there no danger that the edges scratch the edge of the movement at all when you put them in?
No, it's aluminum.
Ah, okay. So it's not hard enough to cause any scratches?
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you mean aluminium?
And depending on what country you're from, yeah.
Right.
Depending on whether you're speaking English or English.
Right.
Yeah. So
I actually allow aluminum because technically that's what it was called first. It's the only time Americans are right.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hey. I have a sign in the store that says I'd agree with you, but then
we'd both be wrong.
So there.
So we've turned it over the other side now.
I'm taking the balance out.
Okay. So undo the screw for the balance.
And the balance comes off drama free. And
now with the balance, you usually, once you've dismantled the watch, you actually put it back on for cleaning, is that right?
Right.
You reattach it.
We're going to put it back on when I get this main plate bare. Yeah. Yeah. And this is the pallet bridge, and we're going to remove it. And I use my red one for you.
So you're always trying to use the biggest screwdriver possible without being too big, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I want to fill the slot.
Yeah. So, because when you're using a screwdriver that's actually too small, that's when you
start marring up
damage.
screws. Yeah. Yeah. Very good point.
How much is a blue screw?
Oh, I don't know.
No,
You could buy a kit of them. But one day we're gonna blue screws together.
Oh, is that the process where you drop it in hot oil and cold oil?
There is one process. There's also a chemical process, but I'm talking about heating it to the right temperature. I just took the pallet fork off.
So yeah, I was going to say pallet forks just come off. What was that other bit?
That was the pallet fork bridge.
Gotcha.
With its 2 screws. And the watch looks really clean.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, this is a routine service. And remember, while we're working, we make sure that the movement holder's tight. I'm also going to remove the movement holder screws. These are, I guess you could call them case movement screws.
Okay.
But we're going to remove them because...
And what are they doing?
They did hold the movement in place.
Oh, I see. So it stays solid within the case.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Because with a lot of watches, they just rely on the stem and the crown being in place to kind of hold everything where it should be.
There are tabs. I mean, many watches have different systems.
But this is much more solid than that.
And I think this is one of the best. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, now we're going to remove the crown wheel bridge. And there are 13 screws, I believe, and they all are the same, which is nice. There's 13 big ones,
yep,
and 4 small ones.
And I'm just going to zoom out actually so people can see how you're methodically kind of laying stuff out, ready for the cleaner. So you're just taking screws off at the moment?
There's no confusing all these Rolex screws.
Because they're all the same? And there's no different lengths either, so you don't have to worry about them over screwing in and causing damage?
Yeah, not in a 3135. So here is our crown wheel bridge, and here's the crown wheel core. Now you'll notice there's a little brass lever. That's our hack stop.
Okay. Oh yeah.
And I just set it aside. It's going to go with the wheels and the small parts in the cleaner.
I noticed that you use putty occasionally to pick up the super delicate items. I always felt that was a bit of a cheat when I did it, but it's so fiddly with tweezers for these really, really thin pieces.
Now this screw here matches your ratchet wheel screw, so no confusing it. There's 3 big screws.
So you've separated that one.
And here's our crown wheel, and it's actually a winding wheel too. And then there's a crown wheel core. It's kind of like a bushing. And we have to get him out of there because we got to clean him. They get dirty in here.
You would think a watch rated to 300 meters would be fairly dust tight, wouldn't you?
Yeah, here's your bushing. Put them there.
Here's another interesting question.
There's our bridge.
Often when we open watches up, you comment on whether they've been over-oiled or under-oiled. It's usually over-oiled. This one, again, you're not making any comments about the oiling, so I would assume it's pretty close to how you would expect. You're not seeing too much oil anywhere?
We're gonna look at the underside of this bridge, and then I'll tell you. Okay. So this is the important bridge where we're gonna see our oil donuts.
Oh right, yeah.
And it'll also tell us kind of how many years it's been since the guy serviced his watch. Here we go. And also, there's a little slot here for picking it up. Oh, we got one more screw right here. There's 3 screws on the train bridge.
Okay, so you're now looking to remove your kind of train.
There you go. And this is the train bridge right here. Comes off fairly easy. Now we can see our oiling. And every oil donut looks standard and good.
So there's a good sign that this has been serviced properly by someone last time.
Absolutely, this guy was by the book.
Is there a good chance it's probably a Rolex centre that's done it?
Oh, who knows? Who knows? But I am going to remove the old oil, and it's.
So what you're doing now is a little bit of pre-cleaning.
Yeah.
So rather than leaning on the machine. Yeah. The ultrasonic cleaner, you're going to just take a little bit off with an old piece of putty.
Yeah. Yeah. And I will clean the jewel.
And that's with your special bamboo. That's watchmaker's bamboo.
Yeah. It's a Chinese stick. It came with my lo mein.
Right. And is that the official snack of a watchmaker, or?
No.
Right.
Today it's a bag of chocolates.
It is. It's quite a good bag, though.
It's going to go down fast.
I know.
Yeah. Here we go. Bridge.
Okay.
Set that aside. Okay. So we have an escape wheel.
So we're now taking basically the train out.
Yeah. Yeah. Set the escape wheel down because I'm going to just dab the pivots and see if, just get the oil off. Just give it a little dab. Set that aside. This is our third. Set that aside. This is our center. That's it. I don't see anything crazy going on here. It was just a broken mainspring. That's all we had. This should be a low drama.
Do Rolex make any claims about their mainsprings being made out of anything special, or are they quote unquote just a mainspring? Like their hairspring, they always talk about it being a special, that blue parachrome stuff or whatever.
This is our minute pinion bridge. I'm just going to call it a pinion bridge. These are the two of the four smaller screws on the train side. So there's four of them.
Okay.
Two for the pallet and two for the minute bridge. And here we have our bridge, who does have some lube in here. Just get some out of there in case. Put that bridge aside. And this is our pinion. And it has, if you can see it, has a jewel on the end of it.
Okay.
And that's where the seconds pivot rides, right in there. It's neat how there's a little jewel pressed in there.
Buried on the top.
Yeah.
Do most watches have a jewel at the tip of there, or just Rolex?
Many.
Many.
Yeah. Especially in the moderns.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it's a point of wear.
It's a point of low friction. Yeah. So anyways, I'm just going to dab this area. And there, here's our two big oil donuts there. We'll clean off that oil. And I mean, I'm pre-cleaning out of habit. I could put it through the cleaner with all that oil in there. I don't have a problem with it. I just want to preserve my fluid. From watch to watch, I can see my fluid darken, get brassy.
And you said that on that first clean fluid, you only get about 8 watch cleans out of it before you have to replace it.
I noticed that. Sometimes when the fluid starts to get old, the watch is not cleaning up, and I get sticky hairsprings. So that's my first sign of really dirty fluid, is when my hairsprings are sticky, and you find out that they're sticky when your timing is erratic. You go, oh, it's running fast because the coils are touching. And then you think, oh, do I need to demagnetize, or and most of the time it's dirt. But remember, these brass parts or gold parts, some of the settings sometimes are gold in different watches, they all shed some metal into the cleaning fluid. Okay, so for right now, we got our train apart, and now I'm going to pick up the sliding pinion and the winding pinion right here. And we didn't lose them because you kept me from moving around, so you're good for me.
I did.
And we have a jeweled barrel right here, which is nice. Yeah. And here we have